Welcome to Justice Beyond the Bench, a podcast by the International Association of Women Judges. I'm Jane Charles Voltaire.
And I'm Amy Lewis. In this series, we spotlight women across the global justice sector who are leading efforts to advance gender equality, strengthen judicial systems, and champion inclusive leadership.
From courtrooms to communities, we'll hear powerful stories and unpack the strategies shaping women's leadership in law and the judiciary. It's time to go beyond the bench. This is Episode 1, Introduction to the Women in Leadership in Law Initiative, also known as WILIL. I'm Jane Charles Voltaire, Director of Programs and Partnerships, and I've been working with the IAWJ since 2015. I'm an international lawyer with nearly 15 years of experience promoting human rights, justice, and sustainable development across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean.
And I'm Amy Lewis, Senior Program Officer at the IAWJ, where I lead the Women in Leadership in Law Initiative. I've spent over a decade working across the legal sector, from training judges and attorneys to designing community-based solutions that advance gender equity and improve access to justice. Today, we're kicking off our podcast series by taking you behind the scenes of the WILIL Initiative, a groundbreaking multi-year program designed to strengthen pathways for women's leadership in the judiciary across the global south.
Funded by Co-Impact, WILIL has brought together women judges, allies, and experts from Kenya, the Philippines, South Africa, Nigeria, and Mexico to address gender disparities in the justice sector and build sustainable systems of support. In this episode, we'll explore how this initiative began, what we've learned so far, and where we're headed next. So what exactly is the IAWJ, and why does this organization matter? Founded nearly 35 years ago by women judges from around the world, the International Association of Women Judges is the leading global network for women judges, justices, and magistrates. The mission of the IAWJ is to increase the number of women judges and to promote equal justice for all. IAWJ supports over 6,000 members in more than 100 countries and jurisdictions. And it's not just about networking, but also about creating real change within judicial systems by advocating for human rights, gender equality, and inclusive justice. With over 54 active associations at the national level who work together as civil society organizations to promote justice initiatives, IAWJ is able to really be a transformative organization at local, regional, and international levels.
But what is WILIL, or this Women in Leadership in Law Initiative? We're targeting 5 countries across the global south, specifically focused on Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Mexico, and the Philippines. And the primary aim of WILIL is to identify barriers that hinder women's leadership journeys in the judiciary and collaborate with national associations to develop country-specific solutions. The objective of WILIL is to ensure equal representation in decision-making positions and determine how women in leadership can bring a more inclusive, equitable approach to the judiciary, including fairness and accessibility for all. Let's take a look at why this is important and what it kind of looks like to be a woman in the justice sector across the world. According to the United Nations, a study from 2017, women represent about 40% of judges worldwide. But as we begin to look at the upper echelons of judiciaries, we see that the percentage of women starts to drop. For example, in Europe, although 41% of judges in national supreme courts are women, only 25% are court presidents. In Latin America, according to the Wilson Center in 2021, women held nearly 30% of high court positions. Of course, this varies by country. In Asia, by comparison, according to the UN Special Reporter on the Independence of Judges and Lawyers, only 30% of judges in Asia and Oceania were women in 2022, again with their representation significantly decreasing further up the court hierarchy. And according to a UNDP study in 2021, studying women in the judiciary in Africa, women judges represent only about 40% of the total number of judges reported in the study. Now, again, this does vary by country, and there is a possibility that 4 of the countries where women make up more than 50% of the judiciary, such as Algeria, Kenya, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, may be compensating for countries where data suggests that women make up less than 30% of the judiciaries. So it's important to really think about where women are currently, and then think about how WILIL and the Women in Leadership and Law Initiative can really help focus on creating sustainable pathways for women to rise and thrive.
So as Amy points out, the statistics on the global scale and then broken down at national and regional levels, what we're trying to do with WILIL is really understand also why those numbers are the way they are today and understanding the challenges that women face. That includes understanding the barriers. So one of the barriers that we see is ongoing gender bias. Women continue to face systemic gender bias that limit their opportunities for advancement. We also see throughout jurisdictions and judiciaries sexual harassment as continuing to be a persistent issue that affects women's participation in leadership roles. Work-life balance is an ongoing challenge. And this idea of the double day that women have, managing judicial responsibilities alongside care duties at home, as well as lack of mentorship and sponsorship opportunities. Women often miss out or are left out of crucial networks and sponsorship that can really propel their careers forward. So when we think about those statistics and then the barriers, we look at what is the impact that this has on the landscape of the judiciary. And these challenges create stagnant environments where women's voices and leadership are marginalized, leading to less diversity in judicial decision-making and less access to justice for communities overall.
And so that kind of leads us to our theory of change behind WILIL. The overall goal is to create enabling environments in the judiciary where women can enter the judiciary, rise, and ultimately thrive. Because we know that when women are in positions of leadership, they challenge harmful gender norms, inspire future recruitment, and enhance fair decision-making processes. Ultimately, when women lead, everyone rises. And a judiciary that is more inclusive and accessible ultimately leads to improved justice outcomes for all, especially women and marginalized groups. So through WILIL, although we hope to learn global lessons and take these learnings and create best practices, as I mentioned earlier, we're really focused on 5 pilot countries and figuring out what the barriers are in each of those countries, what the data shows us, and how we can take an evidence-based approach to overcoming those barriers. The barriers that women face are unique to each country's judiciary, so the interventions must be tailored to the local context. So we are co-creating and designing with our local associations, collaborating with them to not only identify the barriers, but determine solutions that can create sustainable, context-driven strategies to help women overcome them so they can, again, not only enter the judiciary, but rise among its ranks and thrive when they're there.
So looking ahead, what's next for WILIL and what's next for this podcast? Over the coming months, we're going to delve deeper into each country's specific journey, the interventions that are being designed, and the positive changes women judges are already making in their judicial systems.
Women's leadership in the judiciary isn't just about fair representation. It's about transforming justice systems to be more just, equitable, and accessible for all. And we look forward to sharing more on the WILIL initiative and the impact that women judges are making worldwide. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Justice Beyond the Bench. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Want to learn more about our work? Visit us at iawj.org. We'll see you next time.